Om Bhakti Bhagavati Naistiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, the first step in God realization. Text number 30?
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
Jaurakshini Chakshura Bhutpatanga.
Jaurakshini Chakshura Bhutpatanga.
Pakshmani Vishnurahani Ubhecha.
Pakshmani Vishnurahani Ubhecha.
Tabru Rijamba Paramesti Vishnam.
Tabru Rijamba Paramesti Vishnam. Aposya Tahirasa eva jiva. Aposya Tahirasa eva jiva.
Darakshini Chakshura Bhutpatanga.
Darakshini Chakshura Bhutpatanga.
Pakshmani Vishnurahani Ubhecha.
Pakshmani Vishnurahani Ubhecha.
Tadru Rijamba Paramesti Dishnam.
Tadru Rijamba Paramesti Dishnam.
Aposyatalu Rasaeva Jiva.
Aposyatalu Rasaeva Jiva.
Darakshini Chakshura Bhutpatanga.
Darakshini Chakshura Bhutpatanga.
Pakshmani Vishnurahani Ubhecha.
Pakshmani Vishnurahani Ubhecha.
Tadru Rijamba Paramesti Dishnam.
Tadru Rijamba
Aposyatalu Rasaeva Jiva. Please chant.
Dayorakshani Chakshura Bhutpatanga. Pakshmani Vishnurahani Ubhecha. Tadru Vijimba Paramesti Dishtau. Dishyam. Aposya talu rasa eva jiva.
Jayorakshini Chakshura Bhutpatanga.
Dayorakshini Chakshura Bhutpatanga.
Vishnurahani Ubhecha.
Pakshmani Vishnurahani Ubhecha.
Tadru Vijamba Paramesti Dhisham.
Tadru Vijamba Paramesti Dhisham.
Aposyatalu Rasaeva Jiva.
Aposyatalu Rasaeva Jiva.
Dayorakshini Chakshura Bhutpatanga.
Dayorakshini Chakshura Bhutpatanga.
Pakshmani Vishnurahani Ubhecha.
Pakshmani Vishnurahani Ubhecha.
Tadru Vijamba Paramesti Dishyam.
Tadru Vijamba Paramesti Dishyam.
Aposyatalu Rasaeva Jiva.
Aposyatalu Rasaeva Jiva.
Dayorakshini Chakshura Bhutpatanga.
Dayorakshini Chakshura Bhutpatanga.
Pakshmani Vishnurahani Ubhecha.
Pakshmani Vishnurahani Ubhecha.
Tadru Vijimba Paramesti Dishyam.
Tadru Vijamba Paramesti Dishyam.
Aposyatalu Rasaeva Jiva.
Aposyatalu Rasaeva Jiva.
Mataji.
Dayorakshini Chakshura Bhutpatanga.
Dayorakshini Chakshura Bhutpatanga.
Pakshmani Vishnurahani Ubhecha.
Pakshmani Vishnurahani Ubhecha.
Tadru Vijamba Paramesti Dishyam.
Tadru Vijamba Paramesti Dishyam.
Aposyatalu Rasaeva Jiva.
Aposhatalurasa eva jiva.
The sphere of outer space. Akshini, the eyeballs. Chakshu, of eyes, senses. Abhut, is so became. Patanga, the sun. Lakshmani, eyelids. Vishnu, of this personality of Godhead. Shri Vishnu. Hani, day and night. Ubhe, both. Cha, and ta, his. Bru, eyebrows. Ridrimba, movements. Parameshti, the supreme entity. Brahma. Tishnam, host. Apa, Varuna, the director of water. Asya, his. Talu, palate. Rasa, juice. Eva, certainly. Jiva, the tongue. Translation. The sphere of outer space constitutes his eye pits. And the eyeball is the sun, has the power of seeing. His eyelids are both the day and night. And in the movements of his eyebrows, the Brahma and similar supreme personalities reside. His palate is the director of water, Varuna, and the juice or essence of everything is his tongue. Please repeat. The sphere of outer space constitutes his eye pits. And the eyeball is the sun. Has the power of seeing. His eyelids are both the day and the night. And in the movements of his eyebrows, the Brahma, and similar supreme personalities, reside. His palate is the director of water. Varuna. And the juice or essence of everything, is his tongue. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. To common sense, the description in this verse appears to be somewhat contradictory, because sometimes the sun has been described as the eyeball, and sometimes as the outer space sphere. But there is no room for common sense in the injunctions of the Shastras. We must accept the description of the Shastras and concentrate more on the form of the Virat Rupa than on common sense. Common sense is always imperfect, whereas the description in the Shastra is always perfect and complete. If there is any incongruity, it is due to our imperfection and not the Shastras. That is the method of approaching Vedic wisdom. Om Gyana Timirandasya Dinandana Shalakaya Chakshu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mahavishnu Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Pradati Swaparantikam Hare Krishna 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 the Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to provoke attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because this attraction, that is the functionality of the living entity, to become attracted. And in this way we become, by our attraction for various objects, we become absorbed. And as we become absorbed in this attraction, we begin to perform all sorts of different activities that may entangle us in the material world, or activities that will liberate us from the bondage of this material world. So therefore we have to accept the Vedic wisdom. We have to, so that we don't, whatever the Shastra is, always perfect and complete. And we have to accept the Shastra so that we can prevent further entanglement in this material world, because it's natural for living entities, the attraction, feelings of attraction is it's just part of our nature. It's inseparable. It's intrinsic. What else would it properly say? Concomitant, inseparable. We can't stop our natural capabilities. Can't stop it. So, therefore, it has to be put in the proper direction by the Shastra. So we have to know how to use our intelligence. Intelligence can be very fatal if it's not understood properly, if it's not utilized properly. It can, for example, the characteristics of intelligence are, this is part of our common sense, our intelligence, and we have different characteristics which influence our consciousness or influence the way we feel. And the way we feel is how we're going to make our choices. And sometimes our choices, are like the mind. The characteristic of the mind is to accept and reject. But sometimes our mind will take over on our choices of accepting and rejecting, and then we'll just start moving through life under the influence of the mind, or by the characteristics of intelligence, like doubting. We may think that we may doubt this process, four regular principles, eating foodstuff, only offered to the Lord, rising early. We may think that this process is causing us some kind of difficulty in our attraction for peace, and happiness. And therefore we, start to have this doubt. God, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, I'm rising early, and still my head is so dull, so miserable. Still I don't feel happy. I'm not feeling peaceful. I'm feeling very disturbed. So then, we have this intelligence will start to make doubts that the process is working. Or intelligence has that characteristic of discrimination. And so we discriminate. What is this this discrimination is actually what fault finding. You know, it's characteristic of the intelligence. You know, every moment we're looking at things and we're discriminating at every moment that, you know, is this dangerous? Is it okay to walk in the dark over here? You know, there might be snakes. You know, we're always discriminating. Can't stop discrimination. You know, we see things and we discriminate. Is it friendly? Is he a friend? Is he a foe? Was that a favorable glance, or was that a envious glance, or was that, you know, what's going on? So like that, you know, discrimination is always going on. So then we have the other characteristic of intelligence, the misapprehension or correct apprehension. We might misapprehend, so that, you know, it's describing there, you know, that our apprehension may be faulty, might misapprehend, and just the characteristic of our intelligence. So this kind of type of common sense, everybody has intelligence, we all have common sense, and it may be, as it states here, it's always imperfect. You know, whereas, you know, so we have to accept the description of the Shastras and concentrate more on the form of the Virat Rupa than common sense. But there's other places where this universal form is described. Devotees, they don't like this form so much. It's like, you can see the example of Arjuna. When Arjuna was revealed the universal form, he was terrified. He was actually feeling very uncomfortable. It's not a form that was very. Arjuna would very much rather have seen, you know, Krishna in his two-handed form, and was very peaceful and happy when he was viewing Krishna that way. But the universal form actually made him feel very uncomfortable. But the universal form, it's a, as I mentioned earlier, it's meant to, so that someone can develop some appreciation, you know, for the personality of God, you know, develop some feelings of appreciation. This Prabhupada described this appreciation as being like Shraddha, very, like if someone comes and sees the form of the deity, and oh, how beautiful the deity is today, or how nicely dressed and flower garlands. And I remember there was one. When I was doing the Purjari room in LA, there was one demolition crew that came in to give a bid. And so they asked me, what is this room for? So I brought them into the temple room, and I was explaining the deities. And there was one lady that was part of that team, and she saw the deities, and like tears started coming down her eyes. And they were so impressed with the temple room. Like the temple room, their asanas, they have like gold on the asanas. The doors, they have gold on the, you know, decorated on the doors. So they had, you know, one thing, you know, she was actually tears. Everything was so beautiful. So this is so you have feelings, you know, of this faith, this Shraddha. And that's the very beginning where we have some appreciation for the Lord. So this universal form, to understand, I mean, even when I was coming back here, driving across Texas, oh my God, what a grueling drive. So I was trying to stay enlivened, you know, stay awake and enlivened. And I was thinking, you know, how the hills with the stacks of Krishna's bones, you know, how the sky was, you know, the depression in his navel, you know, how the sun was the power of seeing, you know, seeing how the trees and herbs are the creepers were the hairs on the Lord's body, you know. So this way I was trying to stay conscious, you know, to stay enlivened by think in that way so I could remain awake. So like that, we have these feelings for Krishna, and we have to learn how to make these feelings for Krishna grow, and how to make these feelings for Krishna overwhelm the constant annoyance of the mind, the intelligence, the senses, sense objects. Because if we become absorbed in Krishna, our consciousness, our feelings will expand. I remember in the early days reading about LSD, the consciousness expanding drug. It was just ridiculous, but the thinking of Krishna and becoming absorbed in Krishna actually expands the consciousness, expands your comfort level, expands your tolerance levels, expands your capabilities for being patient. And so these are all feelings that are very important for making advancement in spiritual life. And advancement in spiritual life means expansion of consciousness, your feelings, very important. So we have to learn to absorb our feelings in Krishna. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, always think of me in Yuktavaivam, become absorbed in me. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the whole way, a means for becoming absorbed in Krishna. Because if we don't become absorbed in Krishna, our mind, our intelligence, our senses, our the sense objects will absorb our consciousness, and then eventually you become, you have these material elements. I believe there are 24 in number, something like that. All these material elements will just suck the life, suck your happiness, and just absorb it into the darkness of ignorance, and you remain unconscious. Maybe you can feel existence, but you will not have any awareness, no knowledge, no bliss. Just, the living entity is existence, knowledge, and bliss. This is what the living being is made of. But in the material world, most people just exist. They have no knowledge. They're in ignorance, and they have no blissfulness. And the so-called happiness that they experience, even the happiness of the Mayavadi in their state of liberation, is described as like hell for a devotee who's absorbed in Krishna. So the devotee that's absorbed in Krishna, he's experiencing total awareness, and they're experiencing complete bliss. Whereas the Mayavadi, his happiness of merging, or his happiness, his blissfulness, is described by the devotees as being like hell. So, or they describe sometimes as pitied by the pitiable. This is the impersonal absorption in their, they go through severe austerity. Even Krishna says that their process is very difficult and very troublesome. Just to experience a little happiness, very difficult. Even for the materialist, they have to work so hard to make so much money, this, that, to try to enjoy this material world. But the happiness is not, there. How does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? For the material energy, there's there's no endurance. The happiness doesn't endure. There's no consciousness in matter. So there's no endurance. It doesn't last. Even seasons come and go and so forth. I mean, this material nature and whatever's supposedly pleasing or pleasurable, it's not there, and it doesn't last. Temporary. But for spirit, there's no cessation. So in spirit, there's no cessation of happiness. There's no cessation of pleasure. There's no the taste, the nectar, pleasing nature of spirit, it always increases. Ananda buddhivardham, an ever increasing ocean of blissfulness. So we should try to learn to always, stay absorbed in Krishna and always, be around devotees, associating with devotees, because this is helps us always to remember Krishna, and helps to keep our feelings conscious and happy and peaceful. Otherwise, it'll all be just a source of difficulty. You forget Krishna, Maya is immediately there, and she will cause you all sorts of different kinds of miseries without end. And so in Krishna consciousness, it's thinking of Krishna, putting your feelings into Krishna. There's no. It might be hard at first because of our conditioning in dealing with the senses and sense objects. We might be so addicted to that type of life, and not understanding how we're struggling so hard for nothing really. There's no big reward in sense gratification, because the gratification doesn't last. So even the great sages in Bhagavad Gita, they mention how they don't absorb themselves in the senses and the sense objects, because they understand that it's a source of misery. So rather they sit, work, hear, chant, remember, engaging in devotional service to the Lord, and absorbing themselves in that way, and then they can expand the consciousness and be enlightened, and always be enlightened. And to increase their enlightenment, just think about Krishna, and happiness increases, blissfulness increases. There's no doesn't get stagnant as material life. So therefore, conditioned souls who are allured by materialism, that this material life is just an imitation of the reality. And so, and those who are allured by the glances of the Lord, they become set free from bondage, set free from being dull, set free from just, feeling like you're not having fun. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that this devotional path is joyful if performed, it's not difficult, very easy, there's so much engagement for everyone, there's so many things to do. We just have to put our feelings into it and engage joyfully. And there's no end to it. Any questions or comments at this time? Yes?
I was wondering, is there two kinds of universal forms, like the one that's described, advised here, and the one that Arjuna saw?
Two kinds of universal forms?
Yeah, this one doesn't seem as scary.
This one is it's being described without someone looking at it. Like Arjuna is there looking and he's frightened. And here it's being described, in a different manner. It's mentioned in the previous verse yesterday how the same universal form of the personality of Godhead in the 11th chapter, as here is saying, his mouth is blazing fire. So what Arjuna was seeing, he was seeing is devouring all people, scorching everything.
Yeah, scary.
And he was saying how Bhishma and everyone was being gnashed in his teeth, and it was very, very frightening. But this is the same universal form. It's just like when looking at it from a different angle of vision, and it's been described here. But it is there so that one can begin, like Krishna being the taste in water. Taste, the element of water, one of the characteristics of the element of water is taste. And this taste is, we taste so many things. We're tasting, nice prasadam, get some loquats and taste the loquats. That tasting is Krishna. Not just the taste of water, but everything we taste is Krishna. So we can understand how, if we think of it like that Krishna is the taste, we can think, then we can appreciate Krishna. And then we can understand, wow, Krishna is nice, because it's tasty. Or the original fragrance of the earth, or when we smell a flower, that smell is Krishna. So this is the pure devotees of the Lord, of course, they're experiencing Krishna in full, seeing his beautiful face, his beautiful form, and they're tasting the full nectar of Krishna. So then, so this universal form is there just to bring about some realization of what Krishna is, how we can begin to relate, how we can begin to feel Krishna. Because that's how Krishna is understood, not by our blunt material senses, but Krishna is understood by how we feel, our consciousness. Krishna is understood in spirit. He's understood transcendentally. He's not understood by our blunt material senses. So how is he understood? That understanding is felt. That understanding is by consciousness, by how we feel in relation to Krishna. It's like when we come in the morning, we see the deities. How do you feel when you see the deities? Maybe our eyes might be all, absorbed in looking and, gathering all the different colors and what outfits they're wearing, and, our intelligence. Memory is one of the most important characteristics of intelligence, is memory. So we can see and we memorize. We look at the books and we memorize so many things. But it's not just memory, it's that when you come to see the deity, Prabhupada mentions how you should, with your heart, see the deity, with your feelings. How do you feel when you see the deity? That way. Feelings, very important. Because feelings is consciousness. Feelings is how we understand it. Spiritual life. Not by common sense or by, use of memory and discrimination. And, it's how you feel is how you understand Krishna. That's consciousness. Consciousness means feeling. We all have feelings pervading our body. So we have to take these feelings and put them into Krishna and begin to understand it consciously. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Margie?
I also been thinking about, we were talking about how when the Maya bodies are having no happiness or no bliss, that they're, as I recall from Prabhupada's books, that the soul is naturally active. It wants to do things, it wants to serve. So even staying in that kind of situation where you're in the Brahman poses, but still you have to come down, and then Prabhupada also explains that philanthropic work or something different, good deeds kind of thing where good welfare work, these people, not the souls, would have that tendency to do that. And the other thing I was thinking about when we were talking, sometimes in Thailand we meet people like that, and sometimes you can't convince them likewise. So what I found was what I did do. You go and give them this mantra card, and then give them some cartels, and they would start playing cartels and start singing the mantra. So in that way they were getting benefited, even though their mindset is on the all's one.
Yeah, we have to know how to stimulate them, how to make them feel something. So at least give them some taste. They can smell the flower, or give them Krishna as the original fragrance of the earth, or give them the taste of water, and give them something to provoke their attraction for the personality of God. That's the impersonalists, they think that all of this spiritual life they think it's a creation of Maya. And they're trying to eliminate, their activity, eliminate their propensities, and eliminate, because spiritual life is you develop. As your feelings become more absorbed in Krishna, you develop feelings of enthusiasm. And Krishna is always wanting something, so therefore the living entities' activities are, they're based on what the Lord, devotees in activities anyway, are based on what the Lord wants. And the Lord is always wanting something. He wants to deliver everyone from this material world. So the devotees, under the influence of the Lord, they have an enthusiasm to engage in His service, and they can't. So the Lord is always desiring, and the living entities are always fulfilling the Lord's desires. Sometimes they say that Mayavadis, they want to eliminate all this, but they're trying to eliminate their material desires, but they have no idea of the spiritual desire of wanting to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Lord is always wanting, and the devotees are always fulfilling. You might say that the Lord does not want anything, but He's completely self-satisfied. But still, the Lord has so many desires for engaging in reciprocations with His devotees. So Krishna makes all kinds of arrangements for all kinds of service for His devotees. And the living entity just has an enthusiasm to want to be engaged in Krishna's service. In the service of, the pure devotees tell us how Krishna wants to be served, and we engage according to His instructions. Yes.
It's in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna reciprocates with us. He says, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So the impersonalist is saying that it's not this, and they're ignoring everything, every aspect of Krishna's energy, and therefore they have no taste. The devotees, as you're saying, are always trying to fulfill Krishna's desires, and so there's a reciprocation. He reveals what his desires are to them so that they can reciprocate with him. And so there's a constant challenge between Krishna and the devotees to always be engaging together, always be associating together. And so Prabhupada formulated the International Society so that we can start to sense how it is that these devotees who are so advanced, how they're reciprocating with Krishna. How can I do this too? We're becoming more and more attracted in the association of devotees.
It's a constant drive, and it's all, based on, affection, love, for Krishna and Raga, Krishna's representatives and so forth. It's a natural enthusiasm that develops when you control your mind, like Krishna tells Arjuna, if you control your mind, you control your senses. It won't be a long time you'll get this enthusiasm. And this enthusiasm, saves us from the ocean of birth and death. And it's natural. It's not artificial. But to get that mercy, it takes being conscious. We can't, Vantastakoti shatavat starvasam pragamyo vayo ratapi manaso muni pongavana. You might be a big, powerful thinker, where you can, great muni. But they say that although these yogis, they're powerful thinkers and they're full of mystic power, the thinking just doesn't get it. There's speculations that they can't even catch a glimpse of the tip of the toe of the Lord. Because this mind, this is unconscious energy. All of our thinking processes, our intellectual process, this mind is not conscious. Intelligence is not conscious. These senses, this skin, this legs, the arms, these things are not conscious. The eyes, the ears, they're not conscious. So to understand Krishna requires consciousness, requires feeling. And these things, we may think our skin feels, okay, I feel my skin, but it's not the skin that's feeling. It's the soul that's feeling. It's consciousness that feels. It's consciousness that's uncomfortable in his body. It's the soul that's suffering or enjoying in his body. It's not the body that's suffering or enjoying. It's the consciousness, it's the spirit within it. So it's with that spirit, with our feelings, we have to absorb in Krishna. And then we become more conscious, where our consciousness overwhelms the unconsciousness, and we don't become sucked up by the mind and the senses, objects of the senses, and remain, practically dead, zombie, walking around. So, like that, we can make progress consciously, feelingly. It's like feelingly chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Put your feelings in it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Then we become enthusiastic very quickly. Krishna says, Bhavami Nachara. It will not be a long time. Prabhupada, so many places, over 1,000 times, he says, immediately. Nectar Gosha says, immediately you get relief from material pangs by engaging in devotional service. Immediately. Just got to put feel, Krishna. Immediately. Get something. And then keep getting it.
I used to have a coach in high school when I was running track. When in a race, I'd hear his voice. We were doing a quarter mile, and he'd run up to the top last turn. He says, "It's there if you want it. If you want it, it's there." Like in other words, what you put into it. If you really want it, get it.
And my favorite mantra is put feel, Krishna.
Well, I'd just like to comment on the question your wife asked. I've been thinking about this since yesterday's question. And I think this description of what I heard was, I don't want to say I think, what I heard was that this description is like for the persons that are materialistic, all they see is matter. So they're not seeing Krishna. And we see the form of Krishna, and we understand the personal form, the beautiful But so the materialists don't understand that. So they're seeing matter only. So this is an attempt to transfer the exploitive nature of the conditioned soul from exploiting this material nature because it's Krishna, to service, because it's his energy, it's him. But somebody like Arjuna, he's standing there talking with Krishna. So Krishna gives him a deeper realization of this universal form. More like there are dimensions, and as you surrender unto me, I reward you accordingly. Later on in the Bhagavatam, in the 5th canto, when there's the whole description of all the planetary systems, this is also described, and the hells, and what is the result of performing various activities and how you suffer. And at the end of it, it's described that this is a description of the Varata Rupa. So now we're halfway through the Bhagavatam, and now Sukadeva is giving a much deeper realization of what this Varata Rupa is. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sometimes I wonder.
Any other questions, comments? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.